Yeah, and I just can't even begin to tell you how much what a joy, what a pleasure, what a win, what a success. I don't even know it's just been phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal having you in this course.
Oh, well, it's the flip side is it's been phenomenal for me to be in the course, obviously.
Oh.
Yeah, what I've gotten out of it. So, yeah.
And let's go back to when you first when we first met, like when you did you find my Facebook ad? Were you watching me on my Facebook lives?
No,
How
I
did
think
you
it
find
was,
me?
I saw you, you did one of those small spots when somebody was promoting their stuff and they were bringing in other people. And I don't even remember who it was, but I saw you there. And then tracked you down. And it was like, oh, okay, let's see what this is. Yeah. So, and that happened probably in the space of like 5 or 10 days. So it was like, I knew, when was that? End of November, beginning of December. It was in my frame that I wanted to coach and I wanted to move on this. I mean, I was really clear about that. So all it took was meeting you.
Aww.
I mean, it was just best decision. One of the very top best decisions I've ever made in my life. Yeah.
Go back to when you found me and what made you start searching out a coach? What was it that made you say, I really need some help here?
Well, I'd used programs like many women have, right? You do a 12-week, not a 12-week, you do this webinar, you do a little coach, you do a little whatever. And they were all kind of piecemeal, right? And I think, I know I learned things from all of those. I'm a really good student, right?
Yes, you are.
I'm a good student. It's the reason I'm a teacher is I like learning, right? Okay, so I'm a good student. And there was just this, I really wanted someone to deliver, get me from where I was to delivered. And part of that was knowing I needed to be online again. I'd done it 2 years ago. I really wanted someone to make that process easy. I knew I just didn't have bandwidth or interest in like writing a profile and thinking about how to navigate. So that was the leading edge, was trying to find something that would get me from standing here to online and doing it well, right?
Yeah.
But then your program was so much more.
Really?
Yeah.
And just a profile and some dating tactics.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. So Kate, tell me about that. Like I love that you just said that. Tell me when you say it was so much more.
So it was don't date, get ready. And it was, as everyone says, modules, 3 and 4. I mean, doing the internal work, doing, what do they call it in AA? I haven't been to AA, but, you do that kind of a history and that accounting.
The inventory.
Right? So doing that so appealed to me and it made so much sense. Like to unlock the patterns and to get inside myself.
Yeah.
Right? That was so to have that set up before I started meeting men. It was so powerful. And I will say, I think, at my age, or I came with a whole bunch of preparation that was really helpful. Like I'm really familiar with you call it frenemy. I learned it as loyal soldier or the critic. I was really familiar with that process and inside myself. I know a ton about reframing things, seeing things neutrally and reframing them to the most positive. I teach that to clinicians, so it's like, okay. So there was some good setup, right? And I think compared to some of the women that I know are in the program, like if it's your first time understanding frenemy, like holy buckets, big thing, right? Or framing or seeing men's behavior in the most positive light. So I think I came with stuff so that what I could do with your program was just lift off, right? I think it was just lift off. it was, and it was all of the pieces that needed to happen. It's like you and Benjamin at the program and the other women really put all that together for me. It was like the final links, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
You
I
know,
just, yeah.
it just what? Tell me.
No, I was just saying it's just so amazing because look what I got. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. What's incredible, a lot of women say, because I do get a lot, not certainly some of the women have never done any of this work. And then there are women who come in like you, Jane, who are already so evolved and have done so much work prior to coming in. But what's extraordinary that I find is that even the women who have done a lot of work coming into the program will say to me, I had pieces of the puzzle, but you put the entire puzzle together for me.
Exactly. That I just
Mhm.
that connection to like, sure, I get all this stuff, but in relationship
Yeah.
to an intimate partner relation, like that was it just lined it all up.
So
Yeah.
Jane, let me ask you, because we know you met somebody. I'm going to give a cliffhanger here, but you met someone. But I want to know who you were in the past in relationships, because you said on a recent Q&A call that you really changed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was someplace between secure and anxious. Two 15, 18-year marriages behind me.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, significant. And what I would choose though and both of those people were not emotionally available, right? I did a lot of taking care of. I could always be the one who felt better about myself. I had
Mhm.
my shit more together, right? Um, yeah. So
I'm a member of that club.
like, look at me,
Yeah.
like, oh, you poor
Yeah.
person. I am somehow better than you at that.
Exactly.
But choosing people, so who I was in relationship with lots of caregiving, but never equal
Yeah.
mutual intimacy at all. And then right before, so the last couple of years before I came into the program, had a relationship with a guy who was totally avoidant. Like I hadn't dated for 6 or 8 years. Like
Mm.
break after the two marriages to do some accounting to myself and really think about patterns. And then I get in this relationship, this totally avoidant guy, and I just go for the ride, Lisa. I mean, at some point, I'm like in it, and it's on, and it's off, and it's on. And, finally, these days, it's like, yep, I mean, part of what happens with an avoidant man, I think, is it's intermittent reinforcement, which is
Yes.
the most powerful reinforcement in the brain ever, right? So I like claim my fucked upness as a result of that. Like it really messed with me and my
Yeah.
as it does, right? I mean, a classic case, just really messed with my sense of security and my sense of self confidence and my sense
Yeah.
of everything, right? Yeah. So, so when I dated a couple years ago and when I started even this time with you, I mean, I think I said on the call the other night, I would look for guys who are a little flashy, right?
Mhm.
A little
Mhm.
thrill, a little like, yeah, like, let's get in there fast and do something fun kind of stuff. Um, which I really realized, with David doing this steady thing, it was like, oh, that's where I go wrong. That's
Yeah.
where I'm going wrong.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. Oh my God. That was huge. It was huge. I can remember the day and where I was standing where I got that. Like,
Wow.
like, okay, that's me. Yeah. Needing to choose differently. Yeah.
Wow. That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Extraordinary. And you also said that you wouldn't have normally, in the past, you would never have picked a guy like David. That,
Yeah, he liked me. I thought he was cute. He had a great profile, short and so great, Lisa. The first line of which was, I'm a good guy. I'm a good guy. And I thought, well, David, let's just see if you're a good guy. I mean, he said other things that were just really balanced,
oh,
really balanced. And so, I had interest, but as I had said to you, like, he was measured in his responses, right? I mean, he was just measured. He was engaged. He kept doing it, but there was no of that,
Mhm.
I kept thinking, God, when are we going to get on the phone? God, when are we going to have a Zoom date? It took I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks to get an in-person date.
Wow.
And yet, I mean, all the time, it was steady, it was steady, it was steady. It was, every couple of days to every day to, and deepening, deepening, deepening intimacy. And yeah, and he just blew me away, Lisa. I mean,
Aw,
he said things guys have never said. This is I know he's a different kind of guy,
yeah.
a really
Ah,
kind of guy. He's really emotionally present and available. First on my list, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
On your final five.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yep.
he's lovely. And you met him quite quickly, right? You met him
He
like,
liked me in the first 12 hours I was online. And then
yeah, when she got back on. And
yeah.
what did he say? Did he say anything about your profile?
Yep. you know, that, and now what he tells me is he looked at my pictures, guy, right? He looked at the pictures, he read the profile, and he looked at my pictures again, and it was like. And he said, if you had messaged me, I was going to message you. That was, I mean, it was lined up, right? The profile was deep and clear. And that's what mostly everybody, all the other men, I mean, they weren't hundreds or anything, but everyone mentioned the profile. Everyone.
Yeah. Jane, tell me, like, what was the first thing, in the course that happened for you? Like your first big breakthrough where you were like, I'm in the right place. Like, I am so glad I'm doing this.
That's a good question, Lisa. Yeah, I think some of them were smaller. I mean, one was after being on a couple of calls,
Hmm.
realizing the value of those. I
The
mean,
Q&A calls.
yeah,
Yeah.
for me, the two things that were the most helpful were the modules themselves and doing the work, and then the Q&A calls with all the other women. Those were just, yeah. And I think hearing the stories, okay, so it's hearing the stories now. The thing that really made the difference, Lisa, for me, was listening to your coaching. That's what I
Hmm.
was paying attention to, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
you keep coming back to the same principles and the same principles, and that's what I was doing the uptake on.
Hmm.
Okay, okay, remember to do this. Okay, remember to do this. Okay, remember to think about men like this. That's what really trained.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
Hmm.
was listening to you again. And I mean, it's the same 5 or 7 or 10 things, right? That
Yeah.
comes up all kinds of ways, and that's what really helped me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's so funny how um, practical this all is. And, in some ways, relatively simple once you get out of and the mishigas, all of the craziness in your head,
yeah,
right? And you're
yeah,
just, you really get down and you get past all the stories and the fairy tales and and you really just say, look, we're human beings. We're
yeah,
people, they're people, we're people. We all want the same thing. We want love and peace and happiness and patience. And we want to be able to mess up and not have somebody pull their lover away. And, it's just really, really pretty simple in the end.
yeah.
It
It's
really is, you
yeah,
know?
and I feel like I understand that so much better in relationship to men, any man at this point. Like I
Yeah.
just see and hold them so differently. Yeah.
Yep. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Sorry about my faux finisher
Yeah.
walking back and forth behind us.
No, no, no.
A girl's got to get her faux finishing done. What can I say? So he's so
Present. He's so emotionally he has led any number of our conversations about the relationship or what's going on. It's not me, always before.
yeah.
I'm the emotional processor, whatever, right?
Hmm.
The man who on our second phone call said to me, so he says, how about if as we're doing this, what if we have the intention? I'm like, what guy says intention? Like, okay, what if we have the intention to be as honest as we possibly can and bring our full selves as deeply?
You said that to you?
He said that to me in these conversations. I'm like, oh my God. Right? Like,
Wow.
good. I mean, he was he was divorced 10 years ago. He did a whole bunch of therapy and he's, it shows. It just shows.
Wow.
First in-person date, he said, so tell me about your love languages. I'm like, what? And then because I said, words of affirmation was one of mine. When we had our second date, he said, so can you give me some examples of what that really means to you?
Oh, wow.
I rattled off a whole bunch of like how I would hear those and what those are. And then damned if he doesn't use them in every conversation. That was just a tiny, tiny bit, Lisa, about how yeah.
Jane, what does the future hold? Have you talked about a future together and what that looks like?
Yeah, we're tiptoeing into that.
Mm-hmm.
Over the weekend, I was traveling. This kind of, we both have the sense. He wrote me just an extraordinary kind of text. It was so lovely. He was having a Sunday morning to himself and thinking about life, right? And he was talking about how this feels really big, that his life is about to change enormously in such a big way. Right? All good, but that it is one of those points in life where you shift. And yeah, we've talked about it since. It's like, yeah, we both know that we're on something and don't know exactly where it's going, but fully in, fully looking longer term. Yeah. Yeah. It just.
Wow.
Because there just isn't any other choice. Like, it's so delightful and lots of really good, deep conversation about how we are together, and lots of conversations about vulnerability and intimacy. Thank you very much. Like real conversations about that, right? And yeah.
And you've gone away together. The two of you went away on vacation.
We went away for a couple of days, and then 2 days after that, I was at his house for 3 days.
Wow.
And then I was gone last weekend. He's coming here for a long weekend this weekend. It really is about, the conversation is, we have to spend, he's 2.5 hours away in a ferry ride, right? So finding a way to get our lives. Last night he was saying, I'll set up anything in the house here so that you can work here. He can't. I can work from anywhere. He has to be where he is. Like, I'll set up anything. So I think we're headed towards spending more time together. And, I've been really clear. I don't want a weekend relationship. It's not what I'm in this for. So.
Jane.
Yeah, it's just, Lisa, it's like so good. I can be just ecstatically happy, right? And so calm, because I know I'm doing this is exactly everything right now.
Wow. When you came into the course, what were you hoping for?
Some good dating, right? That's the thing, that I didn't have a full enough picture. Like, I didn't allow myself to really dream more about what that could look like. And as I said yesterday, you and Benjamin provided the concrete model. It's like, I want what she's having. And okay, and not to set the bar any lower than that. It's like, okay, that's what it's going to be. That's entirely if it was possible for you guys, and I was saying, okay, I can have that.
Jane, what do you think? So I really am all about unconditional love, right? Like, this is my thing, having this kind of guardian of your soul relationship. Those are not pretty words that I use on the webinar. You see Benjamin and me together, and now you see what you've created. And I want to ask you, what do you think it was about this course and working with Benjamin and me that allowed you to achieve that, because that is what everybody really wants. We didn't just guide you to any relationship.
Right.
When I say guardian of your soul, that's really what we're
Yeah.
teaching here.
I think for me, I don't know how it would be for anybody else, that I had to believe I was worth it, right? That it was actually really deeply possible for me. And I had done a lot of work over the fall and winter about envisioning. And there was a point in that, and then starting with you, where I was like, yep, it's going to happen. Like I crossed a line knowing it was going to happen. Yeah, all I needed to do was show up and he was going to show up. Right. So I think if I hadn't done that, if I was still kind of thinking, oh, I don't know. So I think there's something internal where someone has to cross the line and believe they're really, really worth it.
There was something about the modeling with Benjamin and me, or the way the way the course is delivered, that also got you that result, because you saw it with Anne, you see it with Anne, you see it with Jill. This is consistently showing up. It's not just that you got that, right? But you're seeing other women. You can hear it from their conversations on the calls.
Yep. So I think it's the taking on, right? Watching you and watching Benjamin and taking it on. Like we get to oh, okay, take it till you make it kind of thing. But it provides that clear modeling and that clear picture, the kind of I don't know, like the beacon or something. It's like, oh, okay, all right, a way to orient.
If you had a friend who was like, oh my God, I can't believe she charges that, and that's a huge investment, and that's crazy, what would you say to that woman about the investment?
Get real. Dear God, we can spend so much money in smaller doses on so many things. This is relationship is at the center of your life and your being and your happiness. Pennies. Yeah, put that over the next 20 or 40 years of your life, right? Divide it out. Holy F, Lisa. I would say that. Yeah, do not think twice. Oh my God, what I have. Yeah.
Nothing you've ever invested in your life has given you this kind of return, right? Nothing.
Right.
Nothing at all.
And then you can put my name underneath it. Yeah.
Nothing has ever given you anything you've ever done for yourself what this did. Yeah. I was saying to a woman today, when you step back and think about it, there's nothing in the world that can give you the peace, the joy, the happiness, the fulfillment, right?
Yeah. It's like your dream come true. Really, truly, what would you pay to have your dream of
come true?
In 12 weeks.